Hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Megan here, the Healing Foods Coach, and today's topic is about managing life's ups and downs. So before I get more into the details, let me first of all thank everybody who is subscribed, who has left comments and encouraging words, and who's been supportive. I appreciate every single one of you. The other thing I want to quickly point out is that we will always have ups and downs in life. It doesn't matter how fantastic our diet is, we will still have challenges in life. That is a part of life, that is part of the human experience. So, expecting a life without any ups or downs, without any challenges or trials, is absolutely unrealistic. And even if you do transition from a standard awful Western diet, even if you do transition from highly processed and high carb foods to animal sources of protein and fat, high in nutrients, and you follow that eating pattern regularly. So, in other words, you go from a processed carbohydrate-based diet to one that is carnivorous, whereby at least 70% of what you're eating has at one time been an animal or part of an animal, whether that's milk and dairy products and eggs, or the actual meats, muscle meat and fats from that animal. You are still going to have ups and downs in life. And I say that just also to remind myself that just because I'm eating a great diet now, and just because I have gone into my fibromyalgia symptoms, I would classify them as being in remission. Is there the possibility that one day they could come back? Of course there is, but I've been in remission now for about a year. I have my mobility back. I have my brain back. My inflammatory chronic pain that I felt throughout my muscles and soft tissues is gone. The prolapse disc that I suffered in my lower lumbar area 10 years ago has healed. Now, I still have other health issues. As I've shared in other videos, I do suffer with chronic kidney disease. Now, I'm truly thankful and grateful that it is only in a mild level, not because I'm eating all this protein and fat, not at all. It developed because of all the processed high carbohydrate and processed junk that I used to eat is what caused it in the first place. And unfortunately, when it comes to kidney disease, once there has been some damage, you cannot reverse it, but you can keep it from progressing. Okay, so I've managed to keep mine from progressing beyond stage 2, which is again considered a mild form. Luckily, my kidneys do still function, just not as well as they would have done 15 or 20 years ago. The reality is, we all lose a little tiny bit of kidney function as we age, especially after the age of 40. And because I was overweight, and because I was also eating highly processed foods, as well as a lot of junk and high carbohydrates, that is what caused that problem. As well as I've shared, high levels of LDLs. The majority of mine are the small and dense, low density lipoproteins. And in my case, I naturally have too many of those, which also happen to contain a high amount of atherogenic cholesterol, which is the dangerous kind, which can easily get through the vascular walls and can lead to plaque buildup and potentially heart attacks, and can also become oxidized and potentially lead to cancer as well. Or there's a higher risk of it. Genetic condition that I was born with. So there we go. It's one of the downs, but I have so many other ups in life. And I wanted to get all that out there because carnivore did not prevent me from having hypercholesterolemia. It's a genetic condition. There's no way to prevent it. I have it, therefore I will always have it. However, a carnivore diet where I've gotten rid of the carbs and lost all the excess weight, so I'm no longer obese. I have reversed my fatty liver disease. I've healed my IBS symptoms. I've healed all of my fibromyalgia symptoms. I may still be dealing with joint pain, but that's based on more how my spine was formed than anything else. So all the stuff that came because of the injury and the fibromyalgia has healed. Whatever was already there, whether genetically a factor or something that was just the way my body was formed, I can't change that. Right. So what am I trying to say? There are certain things in life that we cannot avoid. I was probably always going to end up needing glasses because my father had poor eyesight. My mother needed, well, she wears reading glasses, of course, but our eyesight tends to go as we get older also. But I had a high chance of developing vision problems because my dad had them. And sometimes that is passed down to children. Now, my brother and sister don't have any issues with their vision, thankfully. I happen to luck out, and I do. And the chances are it's because my dad had poor eyesight as well. So there are certain things we cannot avoid. My vision was always going to get worse because that is how my body was formed. But my prescription has slowed down, and the rate at which it gets worse every year. So instead of having to have a new prescription every year, which I did for quite a while, certainly through my university days, now I can usually get along with the prescription, and I'm good for 3 to 4 years before anything needs to be adjusted. And this last prescription I got was only slightly higher than my previous one, and that was 4 years ago. So my vision may not be getting better, but it's slowing down. The rate at which it was worsening is slowed down dramatically. And I think a lot of that is because I'm following this carnivore diet. Right? Diet plays a part in everything. So I'm perfectly aware of the fact, though, that we will still have up and downs in life. As I shared in my last video, yesterday or the other day, the Friday, when I wasn't at the pool swimming, I felt exhausted and wiped, and I was worried that I was going to just feel completely wiped out forever, not realizing that whether I was struggling with fatigue or not, everybody has a day where they might feel more wiped out. Everybody gets a bit tired. Everybody has days where, work is too much, or the kids are too much, or life feels a bit much. And we just, if we're maybe feeling a bit down about something, or we're worried about something, or we have full-blown anxiety, then that affects how energized and interested in life we feel. And we all have moments where we just want to go, I don't want to think about anything. I just want to chill out and veg in front of the TV. And that's okay. We will always have ups and downs emotionally, spiritually, physically throughout our lives. And I don't know, I guess what I'm learning is in order for me to manage it better, I've had to accept the fact that there will be days where I feel a bit tired. And that's okay. And I might even need to take a nap on the sofa for 20 minutes, and then I feel great. And it doesn't mean I've done carnivore wrong, and it doesn't mean all of a sudden there's something super concerning going on with my health. There isn't. There's nothing new is going wrong. Nothing else is happening that I need to be worried about. I am putting in the best possible nourishment for my body that I can. And even on days for me where I feel a bit fatigued, oh well, that's just, unfortunately, that's one of the common things one of the things I have to deal with and fight through with having some kidney issue, with having chronic kidney disease. And there are many people who have it even worse than I do, right? Sometimes we just need to regroup and recalibrate. What I've learned, and I still can't believe I didn't just think of this the other day. You know what? When I get up in the morning and when I get up at 7 now and it's dark out, and of course I can't go out and stand in the sun and get those early morning rays in my face because the sun's not up yet. Just turning on the main overhead ceiling light in the living room to make it an extra bright room was all I needed to help me feel energized. Why? Because the bright light forced my eyes to open wider. And I don't know, I guess it signaled my brain, hey, it's bright in here. It must be daytime, you know? But even if I was still feeling a bit tired, that is okay. We will have those moments. You know, we will have days where we get colds, we get infections, we might break something or sprain something, or, you know, we over exercise and we're really sore the next day, which is pretty normal. It's our muscles repairing. Um, and so we maybe want to not go to the gym for a day or two. For example, that's life. We will have days where we think our spouses or partners are the best people in the world that ever lived, and other days where we are angry or resentful because we've had a conflict and we fought about something. Often something quite silly. But there it goes. Because why? Because ups and downs are going to happen regardless. But what I've noticed is that I can handle those things so much better than I ever could when I was eating a super processed and highly refined, especially refined and processed carbohydrate diet. Why? Because those things are inflammatory, which, you know, affect things like your mood and your mood swinging. And so because I've been able to get away from the mood swings and the brain fog and all the emotional ups and downs that come with, you know, glucose blood spikes and insulin spikes and crashes, that's helped so much. Doesn't mean I never have them. It just means they're not nearly as bad as they used to be. And so they're a lot easier to kind of approach with more of a reasoning than I ever could before. Before, when the crazy train of emotion was riding by, I just jumped right on it and I took it to the end of the line, which was often, you know, tears or anger, and having to go to a different room until I could calm down and then discuss whatever the problem was with either my husband or my child, whoever it was with at that time. Now it's a lot easier to have the practice of deep breathing, saying something calming to myself, taking a moment to meditate or pray through something. Doesn't mean I do it perfectly. In fact, a lot of times I don't. But when I'm able to stop myself for a second, it becomes a lot easier. And I wanted to share that because although a carnivore diet, again, where 70% or more of what we eat has come from an animal of some sort, including milk, dairy products, and eggs, if we tolerate them, then what I've noticed is that just because we are eating this way doesn't mean we're not going to have challenges. We will. Perfect example, the other day, I felt completely wiped out and fatigued because I had gone swimming the day before, using muscles I hadn't used for a while. And it was great, and I'm glad I did, and I felt good because of it. But the day after is when I noticed, oh, I'm a bit wiped. This took a bit more out of me than I realized. And, you know, I needed the day to recover. And so I felt I felt a bit down because I had to take time to recover, which is silly, I know. But there we are. That's just a simple example. It could be anything. It could be, you know, hey, somebody might say, I've been eating like this for a couple of months now, but I'm still feeling some pain, or I'm still feeling the fog, or my weight's only come down a little bit, and I don't know if I should keep going, for example. And yes, absolutely keep going, because everything will take time to heal. Sometimes, or many times, it'll take a lot longer than we want it to, because we can easily forget that, hey, it took me decades to get here, but somehow magically it's all going to be different within a couple of months. And I'm going to be totally upfront with you guys. Most of the time, that is not the way it works at all. Most of the time, doesn't even come close to that. Most of the time, a couple months in, you'll see some weight loss and maybe a little bit of reduction if you're dealing with chronic pain or inflammation. But you will likely not see this miraculous, magical transformation in just a couple of months. But your body is starting to heal, so please keep going. But that doesn't mean life won't happen around us. It doesn't mean your coworkers are not going to still irritate you from time to time, or maybe your customer is going to be really demanding, or maybe a beloved family member or close friend, you guys will have a falling out over something that you'll have to work through. All kinds of things can happen. It doesn't mean you're never going to have challenges in the work front or finance wise. Just because you're now eating a proper diet doesn't mean the rest of life isn't going to keep coming at you. In fact, it always will. But the good thing is that at least if you are not turning to processed and carbohydrate rich foods to comfort yourself, then at least you're not adding additional health issues to the problem, right? I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? We often, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but when my kids were little, especially my older son, he was sick almost every month, really sick when he was a baby. And he spent a lot of time in the hospital with respiratory infections and other things. And it was stressful because he was on a little, they came in and gave him the nebulizer for the oxygen, and he developed bronchial asthma, and he was very sick. His first 6 months. I spent a lot of time in the emergency room and then in the hospital with him. And I didn't know how to cope. I wasn't eating anywhere close to a carnivore diet. Everything was low fat, high processed sugar. And so my way of trying to cope, which didn't help me cope, was lots and lots of caffeine with cream and sugar and lots of donuts or highly processed food. That's what I lived off of, although I wasn't really living. So I was not only not able to emotionally deal well with his health situation, but my own mental health and physical health was not in a good place, like remotely, because of what I was putting into my own body. And so if I'd known about this like 24 years ago, wow, imagine, right? I didn't. That's fine. I know now. I didn't then. But that doesn't mean he wouldn't have gotten sick, but I probably would have not been on such an emotional, sugar-fueled roller coaster ride throughout the process if I'd known any different. And sometimes that's the key, right? Not that whatever we're going through is going to be different, not that what we're going through is not going to maybe change. I have a good friend who's recently been diagnosed with stage 4 lymphatic cancer. We've only been good friends for a few months, and so she's positive. I'm trying to figure out how to deal with the emotional side of that. But I guarantee you that if I was fueling my emotional turmoil with processed sugars and seed oils and carbs, I would be a basket case. There would be no way that I'd even be able to remotely deal with the situation, because on top of the sadness that, hey, she's likely not going to come back from it, is the reality that I would be just all over the place because of the effects of my own poor food choices. So I guess what I wanted to say is what I've learned from my life, and I hope it helps you guys as well. Many of you already know this because you're doing it. If you're not yet, I urge you to give it a try, is as you get through whatever challenges come your way in life, and there will always be challenges. There always will be. Okay. We don't avoid them ever. They will come to us. Some of them we know about, some of them are unexpected. But all I can tell you for sure is that turning to processed sugar and caffeine, well, okay, for me, caffeine, turning to things like processed sugar and carbs and seed oils and all the crap that those things are made of will never actually solve any problem. They won't. It's just a way for us to numb what we're feeling. And unfortunately, all it does is it leads to us then having to face our own health issues, where we could avoid that if we avoid those things to a certain extent. And I'm talking about more the things of high insulin levels, high cortisol levels, filling our bodies with sugar and carbs to the point of potentially developing kidney issues, fatty liver disease, developing obesity, type 2 diabetes, and putting ourselves at higher risk for heart attacks and cardiovascular problems down the road. And although the ups and downs of life, and particularly the downs, are not things we can avoid, they're going to happen. But I don't know, I find they're a whole lot easier to manage when I'm not coming off of a sugar crash and a carbohydrate coma. And so, if for no other reason, if you're not already doing this, I would urge you, please, look at getting those things out of your diet, please, because in the end, they are not, unfortunately, I wish that they could solve some problems, but they never solve any problem that we face. In fact, they often contribute to causing even more problems for us, health-wise, down the road. And so if you are not already following a low-carb, keto, ketovore, Lion diet, or carnivore type of way of eating, a human diet, that is, I would urge you to give it a try, please, because it's a whole lot easier, I think, to manage life's ups and downs when we are not dealing with our own sugar spikes and crashes and our own emotional roller coaster ride because of the garbage that we eat in our diets. So, if you ever need help with that, if you're looking for any sort of coaching, I still offer that one-to-one. You'll find my details on my website. You can book sessions with me there. But if you're not already eating this way, I would urge you to please give it a try. Because again, ups and downs are going to happen regardless, no matter what we eat. But wouldn't it be better to be clear-minded and to be feeling well physically and emotionally, to face these ups and downs than not? I would think so. Maybe that's just me. Anyways, guys, that was it for today. Thank you so much for watching. I always, always, always appreciate all of your support and your commentary. Feel free to share your stories. Leave the comments below the video. And thank you for watching to the end. I will see you guys in the next video. Have yourselves a fantastic day. I will see you next time. Bye until then. Bye, guys.